Good morning, everybody. That's a good start. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to our Tenants and Leaseholders Conference here in the Council Chamber and to our viewers watching online via our YouTube channel. Welcome. To the residents in the room, please be aware that this conference is being streamed live on our YouTube channel. Since it's a hybrid conference, it is crucial that residents participating virtually can clearly hear the presenters as well as the questions and answers during the event. We have an exciting lineup of speakers from across the housing services, and they will share with you updates on their service areas and important information to keep you informed. Whether you're here to listen, network, or collaborate, we believe this conference will provide valuable opportunities for you and the Council. Before we dive into our agenda, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items to ensure that the conference runs smoothly. There are no fire alarms planned, no fire alarm drill planned today. So in case of an emergency, please note that the exits are located at the back of the room, and we have officers with us in the room that will guide us safely to our assembly point, which is outside the forecourt of the building. Toilets are located at the right through the double doors. And may I kindly ask that you switch off your mobile phones to silent mode to avoid any disruptions. We encourage you to share your experience and insights from the conference with our media team who are here with us today. And we will do this during the lunch and networking session at the end. As previously informed, photos will be taken throughout the event. To our viewers online, please make yourself comfortable and participate using the email address provided with the YouTube link. We will ensure to pick up your questions, ideas, and comments during the conference. Let me introduce the agenda for today. So that was your welcome and introduction. We have the pleasure of having our Cabinet Member for Resident Services here with us, Councillor Eddie Lavery, and he would be giving the opening remarks. We'll then move on to presentation from across the services. We'll have Rod Smith going through the social housing regulatory standards. We have Ian Anderson, who look after your complaints. We have neighborhood management services, and they will tell you about the work they've been doing. So is tenancy management, the repair service, and resident involvement and empowerment. We'll then move on to we'll wrap up the day with a brief question and answer session. We have provided you with a welcome pack, which includes paper for note-taking. Please note down any questions or comments you may have, and we will pick them up during the question and answer session. If we are not able to go through all the questions, kindly leave the sheet of paper on the table and we will collect them at the end of the day. Once again, welcome, and I hope you have an enjoyable experience. If at all you have any issues during the event, please feel free to contact any of the staff members in the room. Let's have a fantastic conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. And a very warm welcome from me to this Tenant and Leaseholder Conference, both to those in the room and those who are joining us virtually. This is an important opportunity for us to come together, share experiences and discuss the future of the landlord service. We all have a stake in the quality and success of the service, whether you're a tenant, a leaseholder or a member of staff, and your voice is important to shape services and estates environments. It'll be an opportunity, and you've seen the extensive list of speakers, for you to meet managers from across the landlord service, discuss empowering tenants and leaseholders in service design and decision making, and hear about the recently launched consumer standards and how the council intends to deliver them with a focus on people, property and place. And very importantly, to discuss how you can get involved and make an impact in your community. What are we hoping to get out of today? A better understanding of how to access services, including the promotion of My Account. Increased resident understanding of what consumer standards mean to them and us and the council as a social housing landlord, highlighting key compliance works that are taking place. Establish special interest groups to inform and promote best practice across the service areas to support regulatory requirements. Encourage resident participation. Kickstart the recruitment of residents to work in partnership with the council to deliver the next tenant conference. This isn't a one-off. We will be doing this again. And demonstrate transparency in management practices which can build trust and therefore improve satisfaction levels. Please do share your experiences. It's great to hear a set of presentations which I know will be very informative, but please do share your views, because that is important to us that as we work forward to create an environment that is safe and comfortable, but empowering and supporting. Thank you once again for being here. I'm going to be around for a little while to hear some of the presentations. I unfortunately can't join you for the whole morning, but I am hoping to get back up here to hear the questions and answers at the end of the session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome from me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rod Smith. I'm the Head of Housing Management. My role really is management of the tenancy and the tenant and the leaseholder and the lease. So my teams really look after the people side of the landlord service, and you'll hear from some of my colleagues a little bit later on who look after the assets. And that's probably a good way to distinguish between the two, the people teams and the asset teams. I have the pleasure of having one of the best presentations to do around the regulatory standards. A little bit of a dry subject, but I'll try and bring it to life for everybody. Marion, are you poised to click? Marvellous. Okay. A little bit of background first of all then. New legislation. From April this year, we moved into a new regulatory regime, and that came into place for all social housing providers, and this includes the council in its capacity as a social landlord. So this new proactive regulatory regime does have teeth, and I think the watchword there is proactive. It doesn't wait until there's a problem. It is very much on the front foot and will be coming into organisations, will be coming into landlords and getting to the root cause of any issues or performance issues. The regulatory standard is very much centred on co-regulation with providers, so landlords are expected to be quite open and honest with the regulator of social housing. All of this has statutory force. The Social Housing Regulation Act, clues in the title there, statutory force. And this brought into being 4 new consumer standards: the Safety and Quality Standard, the Tenant Standard, the Neighbourhood and Community Standard, and last but not least, the Transparency, Influence and Accountability Standard. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the headlines in these standards, but it's important to say that there are strict criteria under each of those standards, and the regulator doesn't prescribe how you go about those standards. What's important to the regulator are the outcomes, and it does prescribe the outcomes that landlords are expected to achieve, and that's supported by a code of practice. So providers, as in the council, will need to evidence to the regulator that it is meeting those outcome-based standards moving forward. As I said, this is very much a proactive inspection regime, and the regulator will be coming into organisations from April just past and carrying out quite detailed inspections, talking to staff, talking to residents, and visiting our estates. The overriding objective, important to bear in mind, in very simple terms, the overriding objective of this new regulatory regime is to drive up standards and to ensure that the voice of tenants is heard. And that really is the best summary definition. Okay, so what does this new regime apply to, and what really is in scope? So the council's taken a sort of holistic approach to this. We've got around about 10,000 tenancies in management, and that's the statutory requirement. That is what is in scope, our council tenants. However, clearly we don't want to have a two-tier system, so we've made sure that within scope for us, as your landlord, that we're also including our 3,000 odd long leaseholders as well. So for us, what's in scope is the full housing stock, the full housing portfolio that we manage. You'll hear me say a few times this morning about the landlord service. And the best way to describe that is we have a housing revenue account, which is a ring-fenced account, and that housing revenue account, which is funded by your rents and your service charges, and it's that income that funds the services you receive. And within that is the landlord service. The landlord service is funded by your rents and service charges. So that funds the core frontline service teams that you know, the people that knock on your front door, the housing officers, or the repairs operatives that come into your homes, the frontline services. It also funds those back office services as well, people working behind the scenes, often finance, more desk-based jobs rather than being out and about, and also recipients of housing revenue account money, income, that deliver services on behalf of the landlord service. And good examples of that will be waste services and green spaces, who deliver services on the shared areas of estates. So although we've got the regulator of social housing, this new statutory force under the Social Housing Regulation Act, within this package of regulation we've also got the Housing Ombudsman Service, who have got a new statutory code of compliance to do with complaints handling, and they're very much going to be on the front foot now as well in terms of how we manage our complaints, what we learn from our complaints, and how we use those to shape services. And last but not least, we've also got a building safety regulator, which was introduced under the Building Safety Act 2022, and that really came forward out of the tragedy to do with Grenfell Tower. Big focus there is on the management of what's called our higher risk buildings, otherwise known as our tower blocks, and we've got 10 tower blocks in scope in Hillingdon. So across those three areas, it's actually not one regulator really, but three. The Housing Ombudsman Service, the Building Safety Regulator, and the Regulator of Social Housing together will be looking at the services that we provide and scrutinising them. So I said I'd talk a little bit about the four standards that have been introduced. First one then, the safety and quality standard. And this really is the overriding priority for any social landlord. Safety, 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 our big focus. Stock quality, very much about better understanding our stock, and Gary may well be talking about huge programme of work to survey about 8,000 odd properties this year to make sure we've got up-to-date information and we do really understand the condition of our housing stock and indeed our shared areas as well. Decency is all about the Decent Home Standard, effectively modern standards that have been set by government, which we need to ensure our homes reflect. Health and safety, as I say, making sure that our homes are safe, but also the shared areas of the estates that we manage. And also about having an effective and efficient repairs and maintenance service, all important to keep that stock up to date, safe and in a good state of repair. And last but not least, this standard covers adaptations about supporting people to remain independent in their homes through adaptations. Moving on to the tenancy standard then, this covers lettings and allocations, how we manage our empty properties, tenancy sustainment as well. Certainly all the teams in my service area have a role to play in tenancy sustainment, and that's really about supporting individuals with tailored support, information and advice, making sure they're plugged into services in order to secure long-term tenancy sustainment, particularly for some of our more vulnerable households. The standard also covers tenure, making sure we've got appropriate and compliant tenancy agreements in place, and that of course we're also making the best possible use of our limited supply of housing stock. And last but not least, the standard covers mutual exchanges, which is important for many tenants in terms of supporting them to address their own housing needs through a swap with another council or indeed housing association tenant. Moving on then to the neighbourhood and community standard. Safety crops up here again. Safety in terms of the shared areas, big theme. Local area cooperation, as I'm sure many of you know, there's probably no such thing as a council housing estate anymore. Most of our estates are mixed tenure, owner-occupiers, council tenants, leaseholders, people who have sublet, private tenants, and indeed we've got housing association tenants on some of our estates as well. So all about local area cooperation, working together for a better local environment and neighbourhood. Making sure we've got effective responses in place to reports of antisocial behaviour and hate crime, and also making sure we've got effective support and responses in place to those individuals suffering from domestic abuse. So a big theme running through the neighbourhood and community standard is really about working with others. Big theme there. Last but not least then, the fourth consumer standard, transparency, influence and accountability. And for me, this is really, I think, the golden thread. This is really the glue that I think holds all these standards together and is a very, very important one for the regulator. Very much about fairness and respect, treating our customer base with fairness and respect, understanding the diverse needs of our customer base as well, so that we can deliver fair and equitable outcomes to our residents. You'll hear later from Marion about engagement with tenants, not just about demonstrating that we are listening, but also acting on the feedback that we get. Providing good quality and timely information to residents as well about the services that you receive to help support you in scrutinising us. That includes performance information and really any information that you think would be helpful for you to deliver that scrutiny role. And then last but not least, and you'll be hearing from Ian, I think after me, about complaints. I spoke to you about the complaints handling code and the regulations that have come in there. So this is very much about ensuring that we not just respond to complaints, but also we learn from them and that we can evidence that we're improving on the back of that complaints handling role. I said there were 4 consumer standards, and I wasn't fibbing, but there is a 5th in the pipeline that hasn't come to fruition yet. The competency and conduct standard, and this is really part of government's or the regulator's agenda on professionalisation. And what they're trying to do is raise the profile of staff who work within the social housing setting. All very well having all these standards and expectations in place, but ultimately it's about staff who will be delivering, and we've got to make sure those staff are appropriately trained and have got the skills to deliver the expectations of the regulator and you as tenants and leaseholders. So element one of the proposed competency and conduct standard is very much about ensuring that all staff who are delivering the landlord service have the appropriate skills, knowledge, experience and behaviours to meet the regulator's expectations. And that's very much about driving a big culture change within the organisation and focusing on not just the way we do things, but the outcomes. Real big focus on outcomes for tenants and leaseholders. And then the second proposed element of the competency standard is the qualification standard. What's proposed is a mandatory qualification for all senior managers, defined really as decision makers, senior managers within the organisation. A qualification requiring senior staff to undertake a housing management qualification within a set time frame, which will be determined when the regulations come forward. So you can see the regulator does mean business. Certainly does mean business and has got teeth as well. So for us, we've started to work on these regulatory standards, and two big drivers that are coming forward for us, focusing on service outcomes and focusing on the transparency, influence and accountability agenda as well. And both of those headlines really do depend upon us having a better understanding of our stock, its quality, shared areas, a better understanding of the problems that are being experienced in terms of antisocial behaviour, domestic abuse and the way services are delivered, and a better understanding on our customer base as well, the makeup and the detail of individual households, right the way down to that level. Ensuring that we work with tenants, we listen, we hear the voice, and more importantly, we act upon it. So two big themes emerging from the action plan work that we've now got underway. So I did say that information and transparency was a big theme for the regulator, and certainly a big theme for us as well. To give that a bit of statutory force or statutory oomph, the regulator has introduced something called tenant satisfaction measures, TSMs, and you've probably seen some of that on the boards outside and downstairs a bit later on. So government have set 22 tenant satisfaction measures. These are statutory measures. We had to collect them from last year. We do need to publish them, and we do need to upload them and share them with the regulator. So they came into effect from April 2023. There's 10 management measures from our own sort of performance information that we collect, and 12 perception measures, and that's about us talking to you through perception surveys and getting your feedback. We have to collate and upload those tenant satisfaction measures by the end of this month and share them with the regulator, and also publish them so you can see them as well. And they're going to be used so that tenants and leaseholders can hold us, your landlord, to account. It also enables us to better understand how we are performing against those measures, and also enables the regulator to have a view about how we're performing as well. So as I said, they must be published by us later this month, but the regulator themselves will publish all tenant satisfaction measures in autumn this year. So you'll see a league table nationally about where Hillingdon sits, your landlord sits in that national league table. And we've also got to publish our complaints handling data as well in the same time frame a little bit later this month. So there's other information out there, our annual report for example, but we need to be talking to you about what else is important to you in terms of performance information, activity information, what's going to be useful to you moving forward in terms of scrutinising us, your landlord. So, building upon the work we've already done and the conversations we've had with you and the conversations we still need to have with you, we're starting to focus now on our priorities. So next steps is really about developing a landlord strategy. Priorities about services that you receive, services we deliver as your landlord. And we've started to shape this around 3 Ps. People, property and place. So people, all importantly you, our tenants and our leaseholders. Property, obviously the homes in which you live. And place, obviously the localities we call estates, and within those estates the communities in which you live. So more to be done on developing the landlord strategy, and I hope many of you will become involved in helping us shape the strategy and the priorities as we move forward. That's it from me. Thank you for listening, and I think I'm going to pass you over to Ian now. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good morning, and it's lovely to see so many of you here today. I'm going to run through today the complaints procedure, but more importantly, I'm going to give you sort of information about feedback as a whole, because we not only get complaints, but we also get compliments. Just by way of information, last year the landlord service, we received over 150 complaints, but we also received over 150 compliments as well. In that respect, and repairs service received probably the greatest number of compliments of all. Just coming on to the first slide, in terms of by way of feedback, in terms of compliments, we class that as any expression of satisfaction for the service that officers have provided. And when it comes to complaints, there are 2 measures that we have. One is service requests, which are classed as a request for a resident to their landlord requiring action to be taken to put something right. So it's generally a straightforward process. A complaint, a formal complaint, that's considered, and the definition is taken from the Housing Ombudsman, is an expression of dissatisfaction, however made, about the standard of service, actions or lack of action by the council, its own staff, or those acting on its behalf, affecting any individual or resident or group of residents across the borough. So those are the definitions for compliments, service requests and complaints that come directly from the Housing Ombudsman service, which Rod touched on a bit earlier. They're the body that oversee the complaint process that the council uses. Now, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the type of complaints that we receive. We receive complaints about repairs, I touched about earlier on, the maintenance service, property and estates, rent issues, adaptations, heating, all those range of subjects falls within this particular landlord service that we provide, and all of those are complaints that we deal with over the course of the year. In terms of how to submit a complaint, the council has a digital strategy, and the digital strategy, part of that is about submitting the complaint online, and on the next slide it should say to the actual web page that you submit it to. You can still submit complaints if you so wish in writing to us by post, if that's what you want to do. You can call us up, ask us to talk to us about complaints, see what we can do to help. Any adjustments that you require, again, you can talk to the complaints team to see what we can actually do to assist you in order to submit your complaint. We do actually want feedback, whether it's compliments or complaints, so we can then actually process it and learn any lessons that we can from that. When we receive a compliment, what I think I should advise you or tell you about really is we will certainly make sure that the person who's complimented is made aware of that. It goes on their file, it goes to their manager, so it's shared across the network of people that they're involved with, and they get that feedback. And it's actually quite a nice thing to have. And we do get, in total last year, the council had over 350 compliments, which is a good thing. When you submit a complaint online, I'll just run through, I guess, the process that we follow. If you go online and you submit your complaint, immediately you'll receive an acknowledgement, and a 16-digit reference number. I appreciate it's really long, but that's the process that we have. And that's the way that we actually identify what the complaint and how we track it. You will then, within 5 working days of that, receive a notice from us, which is called an acknowledgement, which informs you who's going to deal with it, when you can expect a response, and also it tells you what further information that, if you wanted to submit, how you do that. We will always aim to respond to a stage 1 complaint within 10 working days, but if we can't do that within that timescale, we will certainly let you know of that, and that will come through via an email through the online portal. If you're dissatisfied with the service that you receive at stage 1, you can ask for it to be escalated to stage 2, and that will then go to a director who will aim to respond to that complaint within 20 working days. Now, these stages and these times for responses are set by the Housing Ombudsman Service, and the council is required to follow that guidance that's issued. If after you've received the responses at stages 1 and 2, you're dissatisfied with the service that you receive, you're entitled then to go to the Housing Ombudsman Service to complain about the way that the council has dealt with it. The Housing Ombudsman are independent of the council, and they will look at the complaint that you've submitted, and they'll provide you with an adjudication, which is ultimately the final decision to the complaint that you've submitted. If you submit a complaint by post, we will deal with it pretty much in the exact same way. So we get the letter, we will then upload it for you, and then we will then follow the process that I've just gone through a few minutes ago. We won't treat your postal complaint any different. The only exception will be is that when the response comes, it will be slower because we will then have to send it to you by post. Whereas the online system, pretty much when we send it, you should get it within a few minutes of that. If it is that you want more information about the services that the council provides, there's a website there which provides you with information about how you can access that. Sometimes you will also ask for information by way of a freedom of information or subject access request, which is more personal information about yourself. That information can be found by accessing the email addresses that I provided you there, and also the website that you can do that. There are opportunities for you to contact the council, ask for freedom of information would be more general information, subject access would be more specific information about yourself that you can ask for, and the council will be responding to those. They will follow statutory processes, and they will have statutory timelines that apply to those. Rod, in the earlier presentation, he talked about when we receive your compliment or your complaint, what do we actually do with it once it's completed? Well, we use those for lessons learnt. We use that to make changes to processes and systems and procedures that we have in place. We also use it as part of a restructure that might be happening across the council. So there might be something that you raise which it should be done better by doing it in this place. Sometimes when a mistake has occurred, a member of staff has made a mistake, or it could be a group of individuals that have made a mistake. Were that to happen, then, and the error has been brought to the attention of us, we will then introduce either retraining as an individual or as a group, or generally across the whole organisation as a whole. But the bottom line is information that you provide by way of feedback, whether it's a compliment, complaint, or freedom of information requests, the information that you do provide are used in order to provide a better service for all of you. That's all the subjects that I had to cover, unless anyone's got any questions. No questions. Okay, all right. I'll pass over to...
Hi, my name's Tina Phillips. So I'm the manager of Housing Management Services. I'm responsible for the service delivery of the antisocial behaviour team and domestic abuse team, and the management of the Colne Park Traveller site. We also we are also responsible for the housing management service of 700 properties that contain some of our most vulnerable clients. This allows us to bring all vulnerable groups together under one team of specialist officers. So what we want to do is we want to intervene early, so when we have presenting antisocial behaviour or we see vulnerabilities, we can get in early, which helps us to sustain tenancies, reduce antisocial behaviour and then safeguard those most vulnerable. So just a little bit about our team. So the antisocial behaviour team and domestic abuse team fit firmly under the neighbourhood community service, neighbourhood community standard that we've already discussed. So the team consists of myself, housing manager, and then we have Bonnie Clark, that's our team leader, and then we have Heather Whitney and Tara and Ronnie, who are our 4 antisocial behaviour and domestic abuse specialists. So all of our officers are accredited ASB practitioners. Our team leader has an extensive background in supporting victims of domestic abuse and is a qualified IDVA. So what does our team investigate? So the Antisocial Behaviour and Domestic Abuse Service respond to reports that are connected to council properties or leasehold properties. Our definition of antisocial behaviour is behaviour that is causing or likely to cause a nuisance. How we assess if reports are antisocial behaviour is we ask 3 questions. Is it housing related? So is it affecting our housing management function? Does it meet the definition of antisocial behaviour? And is the behaviour unreasonable, and is it intended to cause harm to another person? So the types of behaviour we investigate are actual or threatened violence against a person or property, harassment, hate crime, criminal activities, cuckooing, threats, intimidation or persistent verbal abuse, vandalism, graffiti, criminal damage, arson, domestic abuse and gang crime. So antisocial behaviour also happens in our shared areas. This antisocial behaviour is actually managed by our localities team that sits under the enforcement services. This would involve antisocial behaviour that's happening on our housing land or in our communal areas. So it's that drug use, criminal damage that's going on within those areas. Noise nuisance is initially investigated by our Environment Protection Department. Where there is evidence of antisocial behaviour and there is a tenancy breach, a referral is made over to the service, who then work jointly with the Environmental Protection Department. So they have powers to serve statutory noise nuisance notices, and we can then work in conjunction with them. If a tenant then breaches a statutory noise nuisance notice, that then can give us mandatory powers, if they're prosecuted for that breach, to take possession back of a property. So the nuisance that does not meet the criteria of antisocial behaviour is responded to by our tenancy management service. So partnership working is a significant part of ASB case management. It involves working with other agencies such as the police, mental health services, adult social care, our alcohol and recovery team, children's services, probation, and the Hillingdon Domestic Abuse Advocacy Services. Partnership working allows us to gather information from various agencies, so we are able to build a full picture of the case and identify the appropriate actions to take, as well as identify support agencies that can support the victim and perpetrator. So when a report of ASB or domestic abuse is made, what can you expect as a reporter? Contact from a dedicated case officer within 24 hours for high-risk cases such as domestic abuse, physical violence or cuckooing, or within 7 working days where there is no immediate risk to life. Each victim will be risk assessed, and this ensures that we respond to victims' vulnerabilities and risks appropriately. An action plan or a safety plan in the case of domestic abuse will be completed to ensure the management and progression of the case, and this will be discussed and agreed with the reporter and the case officer. Referrals to identified support agencies will be made in agreement with the reporter. The case officer will keep in regular contact, so the time frames for that contact will be made in the action plan, and this allows officers to carry out welfare checks on a regular basis with the victim and collate any further information that hasn't been reported. Consent will always be sought from the reporter to approach an alleged perpetrator to ensure that the reporter feels comfortable with us approaching the perpetrator, although we do keep the person's identity confidential. Case closure, this will always be discussed with the reporter in advance of closing a case, and we will only close a case where there have been no further incidents for a period of time, the matter has been resolved, or if there are no further actions that we are able to take as a landlord. So the team's role is to investigate reports of antisocial behaviour or provide housing support to victims of domestic abuse. So how we do this is we apply early intervention. We believe that it's key to resolving antisocial behaviour and prevents escalation, and it helps us to sustain tenancies. We always risk assess and safety plan with the victim. We identify vulnerabilities at an early stage for both reporters and alleged perpetrators and ensure that we make the appropriate referrals to agencies. We twin track support and enforcement where reasonable and appropriate. So sometimes where someone's causing antisocial behaviour, we're providing support by signposting them to agencies, and when that's not working and the victim is continuing to suffer, we will where reasonable and proportionate, we will then start enforcement action at the same time, running both alongside each other in the hope that we will be able to abate the ASB before that person loses their home. We work closely with internal agencies. We seek feedback from residents through satisfaction surveys at case closure, which allows us to gather feedback as to how we've performed and how residents feel that we could improve upon our service. So just to share with you some data around what the team has done in the last year. So the team have managed 234 cases where antisocial behaviour was reported. They've supported 76 victims of domestic abuse to live safely and free from harm. The team have successfully closed 206 cases of antisocial behaviour with successful outcomes. They've obtained 4 possession orders, carried out 2 evictions, including an eviction of a domestic abuse perpetrator, obtained 4 injunctions against people that have caused antisocial behaviour on our estates, and they have obtained 1 property closure order. So our team's plan for 2024-25 is to review how we are managing ASB on shared areas. We will be introducing a good neighbourhood management policy which will explain to residents how we as a service respond to reports that aren't necessarily ASB but are a nuisance to residents. We will be introducing a landlord-specific ASB and hate crime policy, and we will be engaging residents to review our policies and working practices. So if any of you have got a special interest in antisocial behaviour, domestic abuse or estate management, then please let us know, because we would like your feedback and we would like your input. So if you can share your names with any one of the staff members in the room, we will definitely be in contact for your assistance. We would like to also engage residents to discuss how we can improve on our estates, and we will be ensuring that all housing management staff and related services such as our repairs department undergo domestic abuse awareness training. This is to ensure that officers are aware of any red flags that may indicate domestic abuse when they're visiting people in their homes. And it will also help us ensure that our staff and people visiting people in homes know who to report those concerns to and how to escalate those concerns. And that's it from me. Thank you very much.
As we strive to improve our services and foster a sense of community, it is crucial to hear directly from those that we serve. Personal experiences and stories provide valuable insights and remind us of the real impact of our work. We're honored to share with you today a video clip featuring one of our tenants who has graciously agreed to share her journey and experience with us. Their story highlights both the challenges and the positive outcomes that can arise from effective engagement and support. Please join me in watching this clip.
Lived in here about 20 odd years, I would say. At the time, our block was in a pretty bad way. We had no security door as such, and there were lots of things going on. I was approached because I was with the Townfield Residents Association, and from there I was approached by the council if I would like to become a state champion. And my husband, who usually said no to everything, said yes. So I did it, and I've been doing it ever since. I love what I do. I love helping people and seeing the outcome. Hopefully it's a positive one, and it nearly always is. I became an inspector for the whole road. So I did, instead of just doing my tower block, I did Harding and all the low rise right the way up to Church Road. And I used to do that 2 days a week. I would do the high rise and then I'd do the low rise. And I loved it. I always make sure that I get to know the caretakers because it's important for the whole block. We're always in touch because we've got 2 now, which I've campaigned for years. And I've got both their phone numbers. I can always get them if they're here or not, and let them know things that are going on. And yeah, I've got a good relationship with the caretakers because I think it's important to do. I think it's rewarding. It's a lovely feeling when you've helped somebody or you've put them in the right direction to go to get help. It makes you feel like, oh, I've done something. I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's important to be patient with people because not everybody is able to converse, as I do, as we do. You have to listen and you have to, be willing to listen, and if you can help them, then you can give them a phone number to ring or anything really that'll help them. It is rewarding when you've done that.
So that was a testament of engagement, the challenges and the positive side from one of our residents.
technical here. I just switch it on now.
Should we talk without it?
Hello?
We'll start without it.
Good morning. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Oh,
marvellous. We're huh?
Just shout.
We're shout. Yeah.
Thank you.
We're working without a microphone.
Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk a little about the work of the tenancy management team. So the tenancy management team consists of 13 tenancy management officers, who we sometimes abbreviate as TMOs, who are dedicated to managing a range of tenancy types held with the London Borough of Hillingdon. This includes different property types such as houses, purpose-built flats, some converted flats and bungalows, and encompasses general needs, extra care and sheltered schemes. There are approximately 10,150 tenants, of which 839 are in sheltered flats and 195 are in extra care flats. In addition, the team manage over 3,300 leaseholders. And this means that each tenancy management officer has a designated geographical patch that they manage, typically around 1,000 dwellings each. However, for sheltered housing and extra care, that's where tenants are over 60 years of age, and in the case of extra care, have significant support needs but can still live independently. We're supported by more specialist officers such as the scheme managers. The tenancy management team provides the end-to-end tenancy management service, starting from the point of a prospective viewing of a potential property and entering a tenancy, and it leads to supporting that tenant settle in their new home and to sustain their tenancy, as well as encompassing all our key statutory obligations relating to tenancies and leaseholders. And this goes on for the entire lifetime, the entire journey of the tenancy. Our core tenancy management functions are delivered via a collaborative network of multi-agency partnerships, all working together to try and achieve positive outcomes, to try and support the sustainment of successful tenancies and leases. And most of our services and information is actually available online, so we wanted to take the opportunity to signpost you to our online services and accessing our service through my account, where you can do a range of service requests. But the role of the tenancy management officer is quite varied in scope and covers a wide range of duties, some of which the following will demonstrate. So tenant welfare checks. The tenancy management team is responsible for delivering a target of getting behind the door of every single one of our tenants over the course of a year. So that's in the region of 10,000 visits undertaken by our 13 tenancy management officers, but with support from other visiting officers across the landlord service. And this generally ensures that residents get a range of officers visiting with different specialisms. But ideally and ultimately, it's to ensure residents are safe and well in their home, and to look at individual needs and diverse needs of all our residents to ensure that we then tailor our service delivery around serving them as best as we can. It's also to establish that the correct person, the tenant, is occupying the property. Is to give us good data, good quality information about our tenants, and to maintain that information so our records are all up to date. Ultimately, it's also to ensure the health and safety compliance of our properties, and to feed back into some of the regulatory requirements that Mr. Smith spoke about earlier. And that's to do with things like the annual gas safety inspection, the 5-year electric inspection, fire safety upgrade works, just to ensure the property is in generally good order, and that if there are any breaches, that we identify them and try and step in early on to try and support a good outcome, support the tenant to meet their obligations and to make sure their home is safe. Mutual exchanges. Okay, I'll hand you over to my colleague Leon, who will talk about tenancy changes.
Good morning. I'm Leon Evans, housing manager. To talk about tenancy changes. Through the lifetime of a tenancy, you will have changes due to people moving in and out. And that's the tenant's responsibility to inform the council of any changes that happen. Now, the best way you should do this is through My Account. Now, I'll ask here, how many people are logged into My Account have registered? By a show of hands? Marvellous, that's good. I'd like to see many more. It's a very useful system that we have here. You can order recycled bins, recycled bags. You can look at your rent account, service charges, make payments. It's a very useful service. So when you go back to home, log on to the Hidden website and register for My Account if you can. With that, you can make changes to your tenancy. So you can make changes by informing us of if someone's moved in, moved out, if you've had children, people have left, and you will be responsible for informing us so we can have up-to-date details on your family composition in the home. You can also update us on any vulnerabilities you may have. If you're in a property where you have outgrown or you've maybe got some illness that you can't move around in it properly, we can look at trying to move you to another property. So keep us informed of any changes that happen within your household, and we can basically try and make sure that you're best suited for a property that you're in. It's also a good way to hand us information. If you've got someone coming in, moving into the property with you, we need ID and proof of residency for anyone that moves in. So if you've got someone that's come to you, you give us the ID, national insurance number. All this can be added in via the internet and through the My Account. And it's especially important for our high-rise properties, so we understand who's in the property and if there are any vulnerabilities that are in that household. Right, as your landlord, the council has several key responsibilities towards our tenants and leaseholders, such as keeping a home structurally safe and maintaining communal areas. For tenants and leaseholders have a few responsibilities themselves that are explained in your tenancy agreement and your lease agreement. These include making correct service charges and rent payments, and also looking after your home. We, as the tenancy management, or better known as your housing officers, will look to basically, if anyone's breaching their tenancy, we will interact with them and try and remedy any issues. So there's such things as gardens, untidy gardens, light ASB issues, anything like that. Tenancy housing, the housing officers will get involved and try and resolve these issues. We also do a lot of work with consent. So if you want to expand your building, if you want to build an extension on an outhouse, you would come to us and seek consent and permission from us. Again, first of all, going through our planning department to make sure that your build is sanctioned. You're looking at building control to make sure that it falls in line with all the regulations. And if you're entitled to it, you can get disability facilities grant where you can apply for, and again that needs consent from us. But as long as it's all sanctioned and it's done properly, we will agree to those changes. Also, one of our key breaches is gas and electric. So these are safety checks that we must do. Gas is yearly and the electric checks is every 5 years. We try to get behind the door of every one of our tenants to make sure these checks are done, and we work with you to make sure that they're done within time and that it keeps the whole block safe. So with this, we come round on a yearly basis to do our gas checks and to make sure your boilers and stuff are working properly. So when you get these letters, and when you get these letters, make sure that you give us access. And if you have friends or relatives that have these letters, if you can ensure that they too allow us access to make sure your properties are compliant.
Just wanted to talk about mutual exchanges that Mr. Smith mentioned in the tenancy standard a little bit more, just to explain roughly, an estimate of what we do. And it's really about encouraging residents to downsize or to alleviate overcrowding. There's some situations where a tenant might want to exchange or move to another area for employment or for support needs, or to provide support even. And the waiting lists in terms of rehousing here and in other boroughs is often very long, so we try and encourage this provision where you can exchange your home. So a tenant can swap their home with another tenant of another council or within this council or even a housing association because of the similarity in tenancies. And it helps to give freedom to tenants to choose themselves where they want to move to. And sometimes, we've had exchanges in Wales and across the whole country, and sometimes they're not even one exchange, they're four-way exchanges, for example. So there's a lot of potential there. The tenancy management officer will be aware of cases where they will encourage residents and support them to register on the mutual exchange service. And there are even financial incentives where, in certain situations, to alleviate where somebody's under-occupying and it alleviates overcrowding from somebody on our waiting list within the borough. So sometimes there's that type of support. But the tenancy management officer will not only try and promote and encourage this provision, they will also manage the entire process of the exchange. So it's obtaining and issuing references, it's doing or arranging property checks, it's preparing, executing legal documents, and it's even a follow-up visit once the move has taken place, just to ensure that the tenant has settled well into their new home. Just wanted to talk about high-rise a little bit further as well, because just to explain a little bit more about that out of the 13 tenancy management officers, we have 2 of them who are dedicated to managing our 10 tower blocks in the borough, containing approximately 633 tenants and leaseholders. And this service was enhanced following recommendations of the tragedy in the Grenfell Tower, and also the increase in regulatory and statutory obligations on us. So we've got a housing management offer and delivered through these 2 dedicated TMOs, and they do this by undertaking robust inspections of the blocks, and that's inside the flat and in shared areas. So that's checking fire doors, self-closing fittings, door seals, smoke alarms, as well as checking the communal areas, because it's no good having a completely safe flat, but the outside shared areas, if they pose a risk, then that would be a problem. So the dedicated officer is responsible for internal areas in terms of the individual flat as well as the shared areas. They also serve to manage any presenting risks and then to take measures to safeguard against those risks. And this is underpinned by regular reviews to ensure the resident remains safe. So if there are measures put in, such as we have electric smoke alarms with electricity backup, or we have fire doors, for example, but it's no good just putting measures in place. You also need to maintain them to ensure that a year later or a period of time later they're still effective. We also look at the tenants' needs. So if there's any vulnerabilities that we have to be, we should be aware of in terms of fire evacuation or any additional fire risk, then those measures that are put in place, they have to be regularly reviewed to make sure they still meet the purpose. None of this obviously would be effective without ensuring we engage with residents about this, so that they're fully informed and aware of fire safety measures, the obligations, the evacuation plans and expectations. We provide emergency services such as the London Fire Brigade with key property and resident information to also support emergency evacuation in the event that it's required. But these measures have evolved, as I said, following introduction of statutory and regulatory obligations. They're taken very seriously, and sometimes there is some resistance or feedback from residents about keeping items in shared areas, for example. And we try and relay that it's actually a measure to keep residents safe above all else. So that's the purpose of the 2 dedicated officers. But we hope these slides outline a brief look at the role of the tenancy management officer, and please let us have any questions later. Thank you.
Now hand you over to Gary Pentecost and Liam Bentley from the repair service.
Can you hear me? Hello, I'm Gary Pentecost. I'm Director of Operational Assets, and I'm going to give you a quick run through all the areas I'm responsible for. That will cover responsive repairs, requests from tenants and leaseholders, our voids resurfacing programme. My teams deal with all voids when they become vacant, resurface them to put them back into operation. Planned works, and picking up on Rod's earlier point, we have got a stock condition survey that's being undertaken at the present time to inform our asset database, which is used to inform all of our planned works programs, such as kitchen and bathroom renewals, window renewals, roof renewals, etc. And that program is also informed by responsive repairs. So if Liam's team are unable to effectively repair certain items, then we do holding repairs and then put them onto plan programs. We also deal with decarbonisation programs. We've been quite successful as a council recently with 2 significant grants. I'll come onto that a little bit more later. We deal with all statutory compliance, that's gas, electrical, asbestos, water quality and fire. Electrical safety, we've got some bits and pieces on a couple of slides in a moment. Lift maintenance, gas safety, and we also deal with fire safety programs. We've got a building safety regulations picking up on the Grenfell requirements. All of our buildings with common areas receive a fire risk assessment survey, and those fire risk assessment surveys are prioritised according to risk. All our high-rise are done annually, sheltered housing annually, and various other buildings are prioritised accordingly. And those FRAs, turn your phones off, chaps, please. Those FRAs inform our works programmes, which include, since the Grenfell tragedy, 2017, we've had an extensive fire door programme. We've changed emergency lighting systems in a lot of our high-rise blocks and sheltered accommodation, installed alarms, smoke, heat detectors. We've undertaken fire door maintenance, which I'll come on to in a moment, and we've also installed sprinkler systems in 6 of our high-rise blocks to ensure safety. Signage is all up to date, and picking up on colleagues' points, there's regular checks taking place of all of our high-rise and high-risk buildings. To responsive repairs, we're currently dealing with, we've got a dedicated team of operatives, our own in-house operatives, supported by a number of term contractors who are all formally procured and appointed. We deal with 9,237 emergency repairs. Don't know where is that up on there? Yeah. Nearly 32,000 repairs per year, of which 95% of all those repairs are completed first right time. 81.3% of all repairs are completed within our target times, and 93.4% of all emergency repairs are completed within target. And it should be noted, all repairs can be reported online 24/7, every day of the week. And at the moment, we're looking at including some of our other areas of service, which are things like door entry system failures or lift failures, that just to speed the process and get those jobs repaired a lot quicker. We've also in responsive repairs, we've got a thing called LOCAS, which is a little bit like those of you who use Amazon. Who uses Amazon? Anyone? Amazon? Yeah. Well, you can always track your repairs operative or your delivery. Exactly the same as on our repairs team. All our operatives can be tracked to your repair, to your property, and you've got a facility there to confirm whether you're happy with that repair service undertaken by our operative and our contractors, which is quite a simple little feedback process. And interestingly, since implementation, we're getting some good comments, good feedback. On the next slide, you've got these. They're actual comments from people. These are not doctored. These are not edited. They're actual feedback from some of our tenants who have received the service. Picking up on one of the other points earlier, fire safety remedials. We are required to check all fire doors in all of our buildings. We've invested in our own team to undertake with our own directly employed staff to undertake all fire safety checks every 3 months. For the second year, we've just got our accreditation renewed, which is a quite prestigious national standards in fire door installation and maintenance, and that includes not only the maintenance operation, but our teams also fit fire doors in the event of emergency. So again, you'll see on some of the email correspondence now, we're able to put our gongs on our email correspondence to confirm that we're actually an accredited organisation. We've got 10 high-rise buildings with 808 communal doors. These are checked every 3 months. Each door has a maintenance service sticker attached. And picking up on Rod's earlier point, when the auditors, when the social housing regulators come a calling, they will be expecting to see that information as good standards to ensure the safety of our residents. We keep records, extensive records. As I say, it goes back to the Grenfell inquiry, which requires all councils and all building management teams to hold extensive records on all works undertaken within a building. On the voids team, reactive repairs deals with all our voids. We refurbished over 500 voids and buyback properties last year. We undertake statutory safety checks, so no properties could go back into the market without being assured as safe. Any improvements are undertaken. We've got a dedicated team of clerk of works that assess all properties and specify all works to be undertaken by appointed contractors. We also undertake quality assurance inspections, and we've just renewed our term contracts for the next 5 years with 5 support contractors to deal with any future demand. On a real positive, I was an apprentice myself when I first started my career, and we've got apprentices and youth career development program. We're nurturing a lot of our trades operatives, bringing a lot of local kids through the system into our organisation. They're normally with us for two to 4 years, and most, I'm pleased to say, end up being our star. We've got a couple of star trades operatives who migrate from being an apprentice into a permanent role. We've got placement opportunities for 2 weeks work experience. So the team, the repairs team, is around 55 people, including trades operatives. That enables us to provide quite a lot of support to the community. On planned works, as I touched on earlier, planned works deals with all the normal major sort of investment programs. Last year, 2023-24, we installed just over 500 kitchens and bathrooms, and this year we've got a target of between 750 and 800. We are expecting those numbers to increase when we get our feedback from the stock condition surveys and our database. I think the initial numbers are going to be increasing into the 1,500 units per year from about 2026 onwards. Kitchens take normally about 14 days to install. Bathrooms can take up to 10 days, and you see some pictures there. I'll miss the pictures on the kitchen, but you can see it's quite a nice. Can I go back there, Marion, please, on that kitchen one? That's the sort of quality standards that are going in, and some of the feedback we're getting from our tenants is there a lot of satisfaction. We always, like anything, we always have a few hiccups, but those hiccups are normally addressed quite quickly, and the aim is that we've got an high quality system, high quality products being installed now. We've got our plan works team also leads on major adaptations, and in 2023-24 we had 47 applications. 103 of those were approved after obviously go through the assessment process, and 76 cases were completed. Now these cases do take time to progress, just be the normal auditing process. We had 10 owner-occupiers helped, 6 housing association tenants, 57 council tenants, and 3 private rented properties. We've also been quite successful in our decarbonisation programme. Those of you see the news, the government are pushing lots and lots of work around decarbonising housing stock in particular. And using government funds as well as the council's funds last year, we just signed off on final accounts. We completed 133 homes, installing external wall insulation, cavity wall insulation, A++ rated windows, double glazed windows, replaced canopies, which deals with cold bridging, which sometimes you get damp and mould is caused by cold bridging, and improved ventilations. And I'm pleased to say this year we've actually just been awarded £2.8 million worth of additional government grant funding for our next phase, which will be about another 249 properties for this programme. Obviously that needs to be supported by council funds from our other planned programmes, and we're just waiting on final approval for that to start works. On the energy efficiency in those 133 properties, we increased our EPC ratings to C in all of the properties. They've got jumped up from D's or lower up to C's. And works lodged, all our works that we undertake using government funding must be retrofit, must be controlled by a retrofit coordinator who undertakes and specifies all works to be undertaken. And all those items of works completed must be registered on the government's database to ensure that it's monitored forever and a day, and confirming the condition of those properties. On compliance, I'm pleased to say it's the first time since I've been at this council we've actually achieved 100% access to all our properties, which is a great testament to the teams over there and the tenants allowing us access. That will only probably last a week or so. We've got about 8,500 properties that require annual gas safety checks. We've also undertaken, as touched on earlier, every 5 years we were required to undertake an electrical safety check of all domestic properties and their common areas. And we're currently at 95.59% compliant. And colleagues are trying to speak with tenants to allow access. We are receiving a little bit of resistance, but things are getting better. And one of the other compliance areas that we look at, or a number of other areas we look after, water quality. All stored cold water supplies and delivered to properties are managed by my teams. Asbestos management, if there is any asbestos, most of it's gone, but if it's in location, it's safe. We check that regularly and manage it. And we also deal with all aspects of fire safety. On a little bit of security now. You know, the council, we've got 300 cameras borough-wide, including nearly 1,000 on our housing estates. More than 2,000 cameras have been replaced and installed since 2018, and the borough's new network includes more fixed cameras in town centres and social care and housing sites, public car parks and green spaces, with over 50 mobile cameras to target areas of eye issues with antisocial behaviour. We've got a number of council automatic number recognition systems to prevent legal motoring offences, and the cameras provide 24-hour coverage, producing evidential quality data that can be used by our partners with the police, and it's monitored by our CCT control room. This is another one where we're at Hillingdon on electrical compliance. We've upgraded over 9,000 electrical consumer units. So we'd call them fuse boards. Have all been upgraded to fire-rated fuse boards. Again, all linked to our fire safety improvement strategy. We're installing mains-powered smoke, heat and CO detectors within those 9,000 properties. Again, we're having a number of issues with a very small number of tenants and leaseholders who are sort of not allowing access, but these are all safety measures that we need to apply to ensure everyone lives safely. On our LED lighting program linked to decarbonisation, we are changing and removing some of the old-fashioned common area lights into combined systems, which are both common area lighting and emergency lighting. These are all 24 volt LED systems, which again significantly reduce our energy consumption in the blocks, and they've gone across all of the housing stock, and we're actually looking now we're moving it into the corporate buildings. We've refurbished over 34 of our 62 lifts in the borough, and that's during the last 6 years we've completed that. Again, there's the facility there. All lifts are checked every month to ensure that they're operating safely, and we've got a call-out facility via our contact centre. Ward and control systems. We've replaced ward and control, which is assisted living services, in 21 of our sheltered housing schemes. Come back to gas compliance in heating breakdowns during, and don't hang me on this one, we had a number of issues last year. Those of you might have experienced it. We've got a new contractor started in September 23, Village Heating. They've attended just nearly 12,500 repairs. Nearly 95% of those repairs were attended on time, and 93% were completed, attended on time and were completed on time. So that's a first time visit. And we're also undertaking, the slides have gone out of sync a bit, we're also undertaking a programme of domestic boiler replacements, which are installing high efficiency gas boilers to replace some of the ageing, obsolete and less than efficient units, and so far we've done about 2,000, and we're planning to do another 2,000 this year. We also deal with communal area plants. You know, some of our sheltered housing schemes and the bigger estates have got communal heating systems. Again, we're removing some of the old inefficient systems and upgrade them to high efficiency boilers. Again, this all ties into trying to reduce carbon. Normally these efficient boilers are between 15 and 20% more efficient than the old ones. We've undertaken a number of heat pump, like hybrid type gas compliance systems under refurbs, which are on there. These are what, you know, if you see the adverts on the telly, it'll always be, you know, British Gas are advertising to change your boiler to a heat pump system. They are quite expensive. In fact, whereas you know, these are around about £11,000 per installation, which is a lot of money which is why we've got the boiler replacement program going. But they are they are good. And hopefully once costs come down, we'll start to roll that program out a bit more. Touched on earlier, over 2,000 high efficiency boilers. We use the Worcester units, which are proven to be far more reliable. And I hate to say it, but I will say it. The number of breakdowns we're getting on our heating and our water systems are falling quite significantly. On fire safety, with our fire doors, as I say, since Grenfell tragedy, we'd actually started our program before the Grenfell tragedy because we'd identified the issue. We've replaced over 5,000 fire door sets across our tower blocks, sheltered housing schemes and low-rise blocks across Hillingdon. This is just 3,200 front entrance doors and nearly 2,000 communal door sets. Now these are fully compliant, third-party accredited, high-quality products, you know, high security, not only fire, smoke and safety. There's a couple of pictures there before and after. I think you'll agree with me that they look a nice door. They are secure and they're secure by design. And on one of the earlier slides, we did have some good feedback from our residents about the quality of work being undertaken. That's a quick whistle-stop tour of the services that I manage. Basically everything in the built environment. Teams will be available to take any questions later. Thank you.
As I mentioned before, my name is Marion Finney. I'm the Regulation and Engagement Manager here at the Council, and I'll be taking you through what we do in terms of resident engagement, and just to encourage you to get involved in your local community and with us here at the Council. Okay, so resident engagement. What do we mean by resident engagement? This involves actively involving residents in the decision-making process that affects their living environment and their community. Now, before I go on, you probably want to know how we deliver resident engagement. There is a dedicated team called the Customer Engagement Team, which I lead, whose role is to enable us and yourselves to improve our services by placing you, the resident, your voice at the heart of what we do. It also enables staff to hear your views by working in partnership with us to share power and influence change. The team is responsible for coordinating consultations and engagement activities across the Council. So the event you see here today and some that we do estate-based, etc., is being pulled together by the Customer Engagement Team. So you did hear from Rod earlier on with regards to one of the consumer standards, transparency and accountability. And most of what we do is to ensure transparency and accountability for you as tenants and leaseholders. The importance of you getting involved is to enhance community cohesion, to improve service delivery, and also just to empower residents by giving you a voice. The overall objective here is to create a collaborative environment where residents feel valued and heard. How do we do this? We do this using a number of methods. Survey and feedback forms. We regularly gather opinions on our services and community issues. We do this via meetings and forums. These include community groups and residents associations. Residents can choose to form a resident association in their local community, and the council is happy to support and to some extent provide funding for the day-to-day running of the association. We also get involved in workshops and focus groups where we engage residents in specific projects or topics of interest. We also, as part of engagement, use social media, online platforms, and some of you know that the council has the YouTube channel, which our viewers on at the moment. We have a Facebook page. We also have an Instagram page and Twitter. We organize events and activities, events like this conference today, assemblies, estate-based events. And we also, as I'm proud to announce, today we have launched a brand new dedicated newsletter for our council tenants. And it will be produced quarterly and provide residents and leaseholders with important news and information as to how things like how you report a repair, you know, when improvement works take place, how to access and support council services, and most importantly, how to get involved in shaping services. So during our networking time, we would have sheets of paper on the table for you to scan, or we can sign you up so you could regularly receive the newsletter as and when it's been produced. That information will be on the table when we break for lunch. Now I'd also like to share with you, as part of what we do, some of the photos, the next slide, of our engagement activities. That's just to give you a flavor of what we do. So you could see us engaging with our children. We've had sessions here in the council chamber. That was a community fun day with our residents on one of our regeneration projects. And also the fire brigade giving residents a fire safety talk of how to keep yourselves safe within and around your home. Now we move on to talk about the benefits of you being involved. Why do we do this? So we do this because we want to improve our decision-making processes. We want you to be equipped with information so you can help us shape the services that we deliver. We want to increase trust. One of our consumer standards, like I mentioned earlier on, is about transparency, influence, and accountability. It is all about building trust between residents and the council through open communication. We want to enhance community cohesion. We want to strengthen that community bond and foster that sense of belonging. We want to better service delivery. We want to tailor it according to your needs. And most importantly, like I would say from the resident's point of view, is to empower you to work with us. It's to encourage you to take active role in your community. And that would lead to higher satisfaction and pride. So as you're here today, we encourage you to sign up to our newsletter. We encourage you to sign up to our special interest groups and see how we can work together to make a change. So we look at future steps and initiatives. So, well, firstly, I'll probably just talk you through what we've done in the last year, in 2023. Our focus was to deliver the current resident engagement action plan. And what did we do? To support the delivery of the plan, we organized 43 activities throughout the year, plus 9 partnership events. We engaged a total of about 4,158 residents while carrying out these events. And this was done through a mix of in-person activities, online activities, one hybrid, which was when we did our trial, and like I mentioned, 9 partnership events. And who did we target in doing this? We targeted, our target audience includes carers, older people, parents and children, leaseholders, residents living with a disability, residents with language barrier, people living in a high-rise building, social housing tenants, including temporary accommodation tenants, and Tenants and Residents Association and community groups. So, moving forward, future steps. Where do we go from here? What are our thoughts? Firstly, our priority within the team is to focus on delivering the regulatory standards as your landlord. And to do so, there's a number of things lined up already. We have upcoming events, engagement activities that will require your feedback. We have the survey of tenants and leaseholders. We have the survey of tenants and residents, STAR, and that will be for 2024-25. Most of you here today and online participated in the 2023 survey conducted. And for that, we want to say a big thank you. We want you to join us and to tell us, and to join us to produce our annual report. The annual report tells residents how well the council is performing. So we welcome your input on what the report should contain and what it should look like. We're also looking to develop special interest groups to work in partnership with housing managers from across the service to better shape and deliver the services we offer. We encourage you to join these groups. Again, during your networking session, there's an opportunity for you to put your name down, and we will contact you in future. We also have scheduled assemblies and forums. Please speak to one of the staff during your networking meeting, or do give us a call at the customer engagement team or at the stalls to find out more about various activities. We're looking to always continuously improve on what we do. We want to reaffirm our commitment to keep you updated and refine our engagement strategies as and when necessary. We will continue to work in partnership, to collaborate with local organizations, stakeholders to enhance our engagement efforts. Finally, through feedback mechanisms, you'll find in your packs, we have given everyone here on your desk a feedback form, which we would expect you to kindly fill out. At some point, you could do it through your lunch break. And for those online, there is a link that you could click on and just provide your feedback on the event today, the conference today. So we want to ask you kindly to fill out the feedback form. And like we said, we've just launched our newsletter. That's another channel for us to receive feedback from you. So please make it a duty when you do receive the link to the e-newsletters, or when you request paper copies, please just make sure you feedback on the content of the newsletter. Thank you. And we will now come to that part I'm sure some of you have been waiting for, the question and answer session. I would first of all want to thank you for your attention throughout the presentation today. We have covered a lot of topics, and now it's time for me to open up the floor to your questions. Our goal is to make the session interactive and insightful as possible. Your questions and feedback are invaluable to us, as they help us to better understand your needs and perspectives. To facilitate a smooth, productive Q&A session, please keep the following in mind. Using your microphone. If you have a question, please raise your hand and wait for me or a member of the team to bring the microphone to you for those sitting at the back. And for those at the desk, please make use of the microphone at the desk. The instructions of how you operate it is on the cover letter that was given to you in your information pack. Please speak clearly into the microphone so that everybody, including our virtual attendees, can hear your questions. Staying on topic. Please keep your questions relevant to the topics discussed during the presentation. While we understand that individual concerns are important, we ask that these be addressed during the networking session where we have lunch. There will be a lot of managers and officers in the room to take your individual concerns. I am asking you to be respectful of everyone's time. Keep your questions concise to allow as many people as possible to participate. Respect the speaker and other attendees by listening attentively and not interrupting. We have a panel of people who I would call to the front now. Liam, Tina, Leon, who would be ready to take your questions. We look forward to a lively and informative discussion. Without further ado, we'll start. Okay, that's fine. To kickstart the session, our first question is from one of our viewers online, Sally, and the question is to repairs. Should all internal doors be fire doors?
No, there's not a requirement to have all internal doors as fire doors, including there's no requirement for the internal side of it, especially in the high-rise tower blocks. They're all assessed individually and have their the main entrance fire doors fitted with compartmentalisation, so it allows for safety in the building. One of the things that we would say is that if there's no other exit within a kitchen area, and this is in any property, and you only have the windows there, then we will maintain a fire door onto the kitchen. Other than that, they will be resident responsibility. The only other exception to that will be in townhouses where you have a 3 up and down, and they will have fire doors fitted. Now, there isn't a requirement under the Act to retrospectively upgrade those, so if they're not there at that time, they're not seen as needed. However, we will maintain fire doors only. The remainder will be the resident's responsibility.
Thank you. We're now open for questions on the floor. So the lady there, thank you.
I'm Marjorie, a retired nurse and midwife. I'm also a resident through the council because I'm a domestic violence survivor. We had an incident in our area where a young woman who also has a history of domestic violence has been evicted from her flat. She'd lived there for 10 years. Because of my proactivity, I've had time with the UN Rapporteur for Violence Against Women in War and Peacetime. And Professor Rashid Manjur does make me aware that there is a state duty of care towards domestic violence survivors. She was evicted on a Friday and was knocking on the doors of all those OAPs in the bungalows nearby. We got in touch with our ward councillors and a meeting had been organised to come here for an emergency housing officer to take over the case. I was with that person when she was speaking to the emergency housing officer. She had her phone on speaker and I could hear. I was rather shocked at the attitude towards a woman being evicted on a Friday to the streets. And so I intercepted. And then I was complained about. Emergency services should have empathy, compassion and understanding, not an attitude that I heard. That person needs to go on a workshop to be re-educated on things or needs to find another job. And remember, there are UN directives as a state duty of care to women survivors.
Thank you for your comment. The gentleman there, and I'll come to you. Can you switch on your microphone, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm one of the tenants since 2004, leaseholder since 2004. I have a really big concern. Since 2010, I'm keep calling to the council. After 2010, my first email to the council, 25th April 2010. This is all in my record. Send all the picture. The last email, 25th September 2023. The total 82 emails I'll send it to. The total speaker, 6 gentlemen and ladies was there today. And the one gentleman I can't see, Mr. Ian Anderson. And I'm first time attending this meeting because I lost the hope now. The 4 to 6 inch water standing in front of my door.
Okay, can I just say...
This is a complaint about the repair.
No, yes, so can I just say, respectfully,
okay.
We welcome you here today, and I think it's a step in the right direction. I will take it upon myself at the end of the session to come to you and pick up on your individual issues.
But what about if public don't know how is your service? This is all you saying about your servicing to getting point. What about the minor servicing? You're not appointing. I'm following this since 2010.
No, but like I said, your question or your comment at the moment is specific to something that you're experiencing, and we do apologize for that.
Still
that you've gone through. Yes. What I'll say to you is, we've got the people in the room today, and we'll try and get through it.
So what about the public don't know about your facility, how you facilitate to the people?
No,
they have no right to hear that?
No, they do, but it's about a specific issue. So with that in mind, I'll respectfully ask that we take that after the meeting.
If it's specific, I am not part of the community.
I
am not part of these public living in the blocks and flats.
You are.
So you should hear my complaint. Because I had enough now. Since 2010,
I totally understand, sir.
On my record.
I totally understand, sir. If we could respectfully, because we have people viewing online as well, if we could, like I've promised, and will do, I will personally come to you at the end of the session and put you directly in touch with the people that you need to speak to.
I'll comment in front of the public.
Once again, I'd like to apologize for what you've been through, and I'll take it up from there.
I'm suffering from 20 years and you say one word, I apologize.
No, I understand that. And if we can move on from this, and I'll come to you after. Thank you.
I'll wait for it.
No, sorry, the lady there, and then you.
I just want to ask about the violence against the policy and girls, because there's nothing been stated here, special and antisocial behaviour. And do you have anything shaped for the future? Violence against women and girls policy and street harassment?
Yeah, so our community safety team is currently working on that policy at the moment. They work within our enforcement service, so they're developing that policy at the moment. They're currently working on currently looking at the needs within the community around domestic abuse, so they're doing a needs assessment, so they should be in touch with residents shortly to identify the needs in the community in regards to domestic abuse and to form the violence against women and girls strategy that needs to be implemented.
Anything on street harassment?
Pardon?
Anything on street harassment, like for female street harassment, let's say West Drayton, Uxbridge, Useley, Cowley, where female girls are experienced that myself, and there's no information, for example, where you should put it, if you female experience something like that, there's missing police from here as well, I think. I don't want to come up from the topic, but is anything on the street harassment?
I will need to take that back to our domestic abuse coordinator that works for the community safety team and raise with them that you have raised that as a concern and something that needs to be looked into.
I'm just last thing. So when you're publishing, I'm just going to general question. When you're publishing the newsletters, I would like to see, like for example, today you mentioned that there's a policy in place, you're working on it. You should mention that in your presentation, because this is very important when you're doing projects and the resident doesn't know nothing about it, because for me it was like this is sitting at school. So you should mention what project you are developing or what project you have in place and waiting for approval of the cabinet. That is very important for the residents to feel that there's some movement in the council.
The domestic abuse strategy is on the council's website. At the moment we're developing a landlord-focused domestic abuse policy, and once we have done that we will be consulting with residents for feedback before we publish that policy on our website. Obviously we need your input for that.
The gentleman there and then the lady at the back.
Hi, good afternoon everybody. I have a few questions. My name is Mehmet. I am a Hillington Council tenant since year 2012, living in Melrose Close, one of the townhouses. And I can see that there is a pink pictures trying to be broadcasted, but I have few topics. If you can bear with me, I will try to raise here. When we moved in 2012, we used to have a dedicated housing officer coming and visiting us every year and asking our problems and taking notes and immediately taking the action about that. And that is full stop now, and we have no access to anybody named. We try to call the lines and send emails and try to chase people now. This is one of the issues. And the other is general maintenance. When we talk about the maintenance of the properties, like plumbing and electricity, there is a huge waiting list there, and the contracted companies are not taking the best care of the council within the service, I think. Yeah, that needs to be addressed, because we have a toilet cistern, one of our toilets at home, needs to be changed nearly 3 months now. We are waiting for a plumber, because they give us an appointment, which we have a hospital appointment for our son. We couldn't wait at home for them. We really scheduled it, and it put another 2 months. You know, it is not like a clean and very productive service at the moment to contractors. And the other thing is, when we say that the changes for the housing needs for the people go to our website, it is not true, because when a disabled person, I'm helping to elderly gentleman, which is severely disabled at the moment, cannot walk, and he's pushed to live in a 2-story building, which he needs a flat, garden flat or ground floor flat at the moment. He cannot go climb stairs, and he needs to climb the stairs for the toilet actually. And we were pushed to Locata, which is not functioning for the disabled needs at the moment, and council is not taking care of it. We go to the councillors, we go to the MPs, and this issue is addressed in his name. It's 4 years now we are chasing everybody and no help getting for disabled people, you know. And that's, I think, for now.
Thank you. So you raised 3 points there.
Yeah.
One about tenancy management contact with officers, and the other one around repairs, appointment times, waiting times, and the other one around adaptations and you waiting for someone to be rehoused, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Hello? Yeah. For the tenancy management, I'm glad they did come out and visit you when you first moved in. We are trying to get back to that where we come in at least once a year to see all our tenants, to get behind the door and see how you're doing and take any issues that you have. I'm developing at the moment something online where you can put your postcode in, it will tell you exactly who your housing officer is. But you can contact the whole team at tenancymanagement@hillingdon.gov.uk online. So if you want to get in touch with the team, go through the website, come into the team, and then someone should be able to contact you and take any issues that you do have. But we will be going around and visiting everyone at least once, hopefully, at least once a year from now on.
Yeah, that was really productive at the time, you know, when we moved in. And the lady was visiting us and taking notes, every aspects we are asking. And immediate action was taken after that, you know, in a timely manner. Nowadays, see, like our block, we are like block of 14 or 15 houses, and our rear gutters are blocked completely. I go to the website, I don't know how to address that issue, you know.
Are you registered on my account?
Yes, I have.
If you go in there, you can actually report issues for yourself as an individual house, or you can report communal repairs as well. So if you go into repairs, it will give you an option to either do for your home or for individual, for the communal area. So doors, guttering, you can put it on there and it will come into the office and the repairs team will pick up those issues. So a lot of it now is for residents to basically go in and do for themselves. So anytime you like, you can go online, go into the website, report repairs, report issues. When we come in the morning, we can pick these things up.
Yeah, for a change, we receive a letter for kitchen replacement after chasing 5 years, the council. Now we have a letter that's saying that contact a contractor to arrange a meeting to design the kitchen and all that, which is a good thing.
Yes,
we are very happy.
Yeah.
But nothing heard about the bathroom, you know.
Oh,
yeah.
Well,
okay, so that moves us. That moves us to your next point.
Okay, so first of all, it sounds like you've had a few issues with repairs, and what I'd like to do is personally invite you to talk to me at the end, and we can go through that on your individual issue. In regard to turnaround time, there was an increase due to the heightened demand. We did have a period where a lot of residents wanted to make contact with us, which is good. Obviously, it meant they felt their concerns would have been addressed. However, obviously, with demand brings the same amount of bodies and trying to get through that. I'm happy to state that we're really making headway through that work now. And when it comes to plumbing, we're at a maximum of a 2-week wait following today. So it's something that I definitely want to be interested in talking to you about and see if we can get through those reported repairs and to bring them forward for you to find out exactly what's going on. Now, in terms of planned works, that's a separate work stream to the repair service, because as you know, we do refer that over to the planned works department. Now, they are also working through their programs as well, and that takes some time to get through because they have to survey it, then they have to get the plans produced, then they have to write and get the necessary approvals for that go through. So that is on a program. So it sounds like you're actually getting progress on that with them making a visit.
That is actually the first thing about the dedicated housing officer visits. If she came, one of our block, one of the houses in the block, she will address the issue there, you know, because we have overflow water coming to our properties at the moment because of the gutters blocked.
Well, like I said, I invite you to come see me when we have the breakout sessions, and I'll personally take your details on. We'll make sure we get on that. Okay,
thank you. The lady there in the black top. Can you switch on your microphone? Thank you. No, click and hold. No.
I've got a few points to raise. Some of them are from the customer engagement group. If you couldn't attend today, they've sent their points across. Firstly, Marion, I would like to say, It's really important that you remember today, this whole meeting was supposed to be a tenants and leaseholders engagement conference. I want you to take note that we have all sat here through a very long presentation, but only given half an hour to have a question and answer review. I would like everyone to be respectful of people who like to talk. Most people here would have personal things to raise, and we've spent a long time here. It does feel a little bit more like an annual review of the council department's achievements, the presentation at the beginning, which we've all patiently sat through. I spoke out initially because the gentleman and lady at the front, I think it's very important that you listen to what they're saying, because although we might bring different points up, lots of us have been spent not just weeks or months, but years raising issues that have not been addressed. Okay, so that's firstly just in support of the speaker at the front. So one of the customer engagement group, a lady called Ida, decided not to come to the meeting and thinks a community meeting would be better. And she, as she said, within the community working together, maybe things would be actioned. She has mentioned that she's maybe slightly elderly, and she's mentioned the sprinklers that have been put into her I'm not sure if she's a leaseholder or a tenant, apartment, have been installed, and now she's been given extra pieces to clean. Is this the case, or can the repairs team put in place, if they're putting in new sprinklers, that they also manage a yearly service of them, because elderly tenants aren't able to clean them themselves with ease?
Yeah, I mean,
Do you mind answering that for Ida first?
The sprinklers have been installed in all of our high-rise blocks. There should be, I'll check with the lead manager in a minute, there should be minimal maintenance items for our tenants. In fact, there's no maintenance items because they are fixed points.
Okay, they've been told to, they've been given the pieces to clean, she's been told to. And she said if there is a potential fire, she's concerned because what if they've not cleaned them correctly? So maybe this is something you need to think about addressing.
There's no, just to confirm, there's no maintenance of the sprinkler heads. I think there might be a little bit of confusion here.
Yeah.
It may be the smoke and heat detectors that are being installed, which are just, all there is that's a test, a push test. Is that right?
I'm not sure. She's been told to clean. Maybe you can pick back up with her. I'll give you her details. Fine. The next person that I would like to raise some points for was Denise. She was attendance earlier and she sent over her list. Fortunately, she couldn't stay any longer. She had to return back to work, but she sat through your presentation. So she's got a few questions here. She said, do you have enough staff to achieve and action your plans that you presented as a council? Yeah.
It's a hard question.
Okay.
We're under pressure. We are reviewing our structures currently, and the aim is to have sufficient staff working effectively to deliver.
And competent ones.
And competent staff, correct? Yeah. That's
okay.
Yeah. Over the years, we have got a number of incompetent staff that have been removed from the organisation, and our aim is to provide effective services across the board.
Okay, her next question would be, how many housing officers are in charge of an estate? Do you have one allocated per estate?
We have 13 housing officers with a manage about 1,000 properties.
Okay, so for leaseholders and tenants, would you be able to notify everybody who these people are?
As I said, I'm developing something to go online where you put your postcode in and it will tell you.
For everybody to access this?
Yes, yeah. It'll be online for everyone.
Everybody, wherever they live, leaseholder or tenant, who is the person of contact? So we see who's being held responsible, who's the project managers, who are the people who are actually doing the work. Because I was shocked to see so many people working in the council, and I was even more shocked to see that you said 58 people working as a team. I was like, gee, where are you all? Good to see you today, though.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, just to give you, we've got 44 trades operatives who undertake day-to-day repairs in the borough. As was mentioned in the slide earlier, we're dealing with 30 or 40,000 repairs, domestic repairs per year, and we've got contractors as well. And these guys and girls up here, they various, it's not that given, to be truthful, running something in the order of plan works are about £15 million a year, plus some of the kitchen and bathroom programs are probably £5-6 million a year. So there's lots of works programs, and what we can do as part of our putting names to faces, we can put lead managers for each of the planned works and engineering type repairs functions. You know, dig them out. Liam Bentley's the operations manager. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
And just to add to what Gary said, like we said, we've launched a newsletter today, and that information you're referring to, the patch, who's whose list would come through the newsletter. So please look out for it. We'll take one more question from you. We'll move on to others, and then. So if we could take your question, and then we'll move on to the others. Yeah, if we could take yours, please, so we could move on to others in the room. Then I'll come back to you. Thank you.
So firstly, my biggest concern was about the repairs. It was very impressive the amount of repairs that are being completed across your department. My concern is how the figures are relayed. So when repairs are reported, they're not always completed, and they're just like not completed, and they don't show in your figures. And then what happens is back on the tenant to then re-report. So your figures aren't exactly correct. And I can just show by the 5 people through the customer engagement thing, they've got repairs lasting for years. Some of them are over 2 years, could be over 5 years, and I can talk from example from myself as well. I'm going up to 10 years. So it's just really if you're going to be employing staff who are competent and actually have someone who's going to be held responsible for this work. So, having project managers or having somebody in place where anybody can complain to. Oh, and then I suppose the last thing, just jump before maybe I have one more question. The complaints team. I think it was quite interesting to see today when the complaints manager spoke. In history, most people would be complaining to each department about the problem. And I think that is why we have such a low level of complaints going to the complaints team. But I think now, going forward, everyone knows you don't complain to the departments, you complain to the complaints team. And that's how it always should. I think that's some really interesting things that have come out today. Thanks for your time. Do you mind answering the question?
Thank you. Gary. The people online can speak.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's ready.
I do apologise. I've just been told people online can't hear me. Apologies, everyone online. Picking up on the repairs issue. I've got a philosophy I've done for quite a number of years. We need to close the loop on every single job, which is what Liam's team are trying to do now, which is why we've got that new LOCAS system. All repairs reported are logged. There's a repairs number. If there's an issue that repair hasn't been done, or we'll straight after this meeting we'll go through all those items, the items with the gentleman over there with the toilet system, this gentleman here with his with outstanding repairs. We'll go through all those items, and our aim is to improve services. So we want to come to these sessions where all issues are resolved and we provide an effective service. Now, in the vast majority of cases, we do provide an effective service. We do let ourselves down. We're not perfect, but our aim is to try and get to near to perfection as we can. So, yeah, I apologise straight away if we've failed. That goes across the board and anyone online. If we've failed, but give us the details. We'll investigate it. Those issues, my personal assurance, they will be addressed. Those issues. And we will be moving on, because the aim is to provide, next time we come to this meeting, it's, Gary, your team's brilliant. Yeah? That's the aim.
Thank you, Gary.
If you actually listen to everybody here and acted, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I please ask that we take one question per person, because there's a few people that want to ask questions or make comments, and I'm very conscious that we want to give everybody the opportunity to ask the questions. But please bear in mind, there's also sheets of paper on your table that you could write down your comments or questions if you do not eventually have the time to ask the questions. The gentleman in the blue shirt. Can you use your microphone, please?
Thank you all. My name is Harry, and my question is this. Since when have we had to pay residents' car, or have to pay for resident car parking permits, please?
So the consultation took place, and it was part of a wider consultation, the budget consultation for 2022-23, I believe. And it was within that consultation paper. Is it the charge of the £75 for parking you're referring to?
That's right, yeah.
That's correct. So that was out for consultation, and it went to Cabinet before the final decision was made. So it did go through due process. I know we've had a number of queries about it, or people asking about it, but that's why we do encourage people to please participate in consultation activities. Please make time to check our website, go through our consultations, so you can have your say in the services that we provide to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The gentleman in the hood, and then I'll come to you.
I just want to find out how long it will take to get the tenancy renewal. Tenancy.
The tenancy reviews,
not refuse.
Review. So you're on a fixed term tenancy, 5 years?
Yes.
So after 5 years, you have 1 year probationary, then after 5 years, you should have a review 9 months before the end of your tenancy.
Which is, they've done that.
And it's been done. So are you waiting for a decision letter?
No. I got the decision letter in March 2023. And still waiting. I've got kids. I've got a daughter. She need to move school. They ask me for tenant agreement. I don't have it. It's been a year and 5 months.
I will speak to you afterwards. And we'll get
it's a year and 5 months. I think that is enough.
Yeah, I'll speak to you afterwards.
You know, it's getting no.
Thank you. Can you switch off your microphone, please? Thank you. The lady there in the yes. No, you would. She was ahead of you.
Hi, I'm a leaseholder, and I've been a leaseholder in Hillingdon Council since 2007. Over the last 5-6 years, I found the repair costs for communal areas increasing, and a lot of these repair costs are due to antisocial behaviour by other residents, which Tina's team is aware of. Why are we having to pay for these repairs? What is the actual policy? I'd like to know.
If your case is being investigated by the antisocial behaviour team, I don't think that's working, is it? If it's being investigated by our antisocial behaviour team, if you raise with us that you're a leaseholder, we can look into the damages that are being caused, and as long as we've got them recorded, we can then get in touch with the leasehold department and discuss the costs that you are being charged, because some of those damages we may be able to deduct from the leasehold charge.
I feel when damages are reported, the reason why the damages have occurred are recorded at the same time. I feel like the onus should not be on the leaseholders or other residents to then audit and check the charges that you guys are sending through on long, really small print spreadsheets. I feel like there should be proaction happening, where as soon as it's reported and it's aware that this is due to another person or another antisocial behaviour, it should be stricken from our charges. I don't feel like leaseholders should be responsible for these repair costs, and I just want to know what the official policy is, because time and time again we get charged, and then I have to take time out of my working day to speak to various departments who keep forwarding me on to then finally get £11 back, which I just think the whole sequence of events is unacceptable, and I just want to know what the official policy is. I also have a comment, just very quickly. I know it's only one question. I just have a comment. I'd like to. You have all these housing officers and forums and engagement teams and everything. I'd like to know how many people that are tenants and leaseholders are recruited into these teams. Because is there any strategy in place to make sure that these community members, this is your community, are recruited into these teams, because we are the ones that are best able to support other people from this community. It's just a comment.
Just one at a time. You asked about the policy position. Yeah. So the straight answer is repairs to common areas are the council's responsibility to take in terms of the lease. In terms of the lease, it is the leaseholder's responsibility to pay their proportionate. Yeah, I'll just finish. Yeah, pay their proportionate recharge. Sorry, there's a problem with the volume. Can you hear me? Yes. There we go. Okay, I'll start again. I will start again. Straight answer is, under the terms of the lease, the council is responsible for undertaking repairs, however they may occur. And under the terms of the lease, leaseholders are responsible for paying their proportionate recharges. That's the straight from the top position. How those repair issues came about, where there's damage, then clearly Tina's team, working in conjunction with others, will look to identify those who may be responsible. Yeah. Where we identify people who are responsible, we will and we do recharge, and Liam's team's got a successful record of recharging tenants for damage and other rechargeable repairs. Also, under the terms of your lease, you do have insurance in place as well, buildings insurance, and some of that damage may be covered by buildings insurance. However, there is an excess on that damage, yeah. So the straight answer is we repair and we have to recharge under the terms of the lease. However, we will and we do look at those recharges, how the damage has occurred, and where it's appropriate to make insurance claims, then we will do that, and or recharge people that are responsible.
You recharge people that are responsible, but do we get our money back?
Well, where we can identify people, we would raise the recharge to them, not to you. So it's not a question of refunding you, it would be a question of charging the people that are responsible. But yeah, if something has happened historically and we've managed to get some money back, then obviously we'll look at each individual case. If there's an option to refund people where we have got monies back from the insurance company, then we're happy to do that, and we have done that in the past.
Thank you, Rod. The gentleman at the back, the gentleman at the front, then the man at the back, and the one there. Go on then.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for giving your time today. The thing about this is that I've heard this all before. I've been to conferences before, I've been to meetings before, over many, many years, and for those that go back a long way, we had an ALMO, an arm's length management organisation, take over council services, housing services, many years ago. That ran for about 4 years. Services did improve quite substantially, but as soon as it was brought back in-house, it seemed like cuts were made. We lost a number of really good officers because of, they were being made to go for their jobs again, and they didn't want to run the risk of not getting their job, so they took their early retirement for their pensions. We're in a situation, aren't we, where once again we're being promised things of what's going to come, but really, shouldn't you be providing these services already? We should be having really good estates. We shouldn't be having a lot of the issues that are being raised today with antisocial behaviour, with repairs, with caretaking, with grounds maintenance, etc. Our estates, with the amount of money that we've been asked to pay, both through rents and service charges, our estates should be really immaculate at this time.
Thanks for your question, Alan. I wouldn't disagree with any of that. We've all got a history, and that includes the council as well. But I think the focus of today, as outlined really in my presentation, is about forward-looking now. This is not just about what the council wants to do, it's what the regulator of social housing is requiring the council to do in conjunction with residents. So we've really entered a new era from this year, and we want to be working with you, working with others to achieve the outcome that the regulator wants. And yes, that includes improvement to services, improvements to shared areas as well, and that really is what today is all about.
Okay, thank you. The gentleman at the back, standing. One question, please.
Thank you very much for giving me time. My name is Mr. Khan. I'm the community care officer for a charity called Humanity First. We have some 600 members here in Hillingdon. Some of them have housing problems, some have some other problems, and I represent them. One of the members here I'm representing today, Mr. Ahmed, he's got some problems which I will personally deal with, because just like you asked the gentleman, individual questions should be asked in the lunchtime, because I don't want to embarrass you. But it's been some 6 to 10 years, the housing conditions are severely worst, and nobody has even taken care of it. The repair team comes and they say, until it is dangerous, we'll repair it. Means they live on the top floor, then there is a roof. Unless the roofs collapse or there is a big enough hole, we'll come and repair it. I have the proof on my phone how dangerous it is. But I will not embarrass you guys, because our goal is the same, serving the community. So I would really appreciate if their voice is heard. In short, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. I'll come to you, lady. Yeah.
Hello there. My complaint is to do with village heating.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
Is that better? Right, yeah. My complaint is to do with village heating. Now, I want to know, when you call out emergency services, I'm expecting that they would come that day or that night or whatever it is. It's been like nearly over a week. 2 operatives came and my boiler is not working. I can't get no hot water or heating. Now, my thing is, I'm a vulnerable tenant who's had 2 major operations on the right side. Do you expect me to go and boil water to go and wash myself?
Straight after this, as we're having lunch, if you give your details to that gentleman there, Paul. Paul, he's the contracts manager for village heating, and they are required to attend in what's the time? 4 hours. So if there's such a service failure, those who've I'll be careful as we're being recorded. We did remove a previous contractor through similar issues, so we expect high services and give the details. And if anyone else has got heating or hot water type issues, please refer to Paul. That's on the website as well. And in the pack that's coming round from Marion sending round, in that pack under me, there are specific officers named as responsible for service contracts. And apologies, by the way, it shouldn't have been 2 weeks. It will be resolved. Now, if they can't resolve the heating repair, it'll be a new boiler. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Apologies.
Thank you. The lady at the back, and we'll take 2 more before we close.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. My name is Irena, and I'm a tenant. And I'm here on behalf of some neighbours of mine as well. There's a little group of us, and they've asked me to point out something. There's always been a little bit of grumbling and dissatisfaction about the quality, because our homes are ones that were built in the 50s. However, what has been really brought to light today, when we were told about the void resurfacing, and it sounds very admirable that when houses are now becoming void properties, they are a team. We don't know who. It wasn't explained exactly whether they are council employees or whether it just said inspectors make recommendations, and these properties are brought up to a really good standard. However, this is rather peeving the tenants who have been there for some time, when their places are left to languish. And this has happened twice recently in the little cluster of bungalows that I am in, where bungalows have become void, and all of a sudden they're getting new kitchens, brand new windows, new doors. One has even been completely decorated inside. And tenants who have been there for some years, we're still living with the really old windows, with all sorts of issues that need redoing, and we are told we're not due to have them done yet. Personally, myself, I moved in 3 years ago. It was during lockdown. It was a sudden lockdown. It was the middle of winter, and I had to move into the property, and I thought, well, this is just the condition they expect us to live in. And I am now horrified to find that my place isn't due to have its windows apparently looked at. And this gentleman here, I think he may remember me talking about it last week when somebody came to have a look at them. And I'm told that my windows aren't even due to be looked at until 2032. And that's just to be looked at. We've all got the same windows. Why is it seen necessary to put lovely new UPVC double glazing windows, back doors, new kitchen, redecorate for somebody coming in now, and it wasn't then? All I'm saying is it's making double standards, and it's really making the original residents feel quite peeved.
Thank you for your comment. And did you want to?
Yeah, as mentioned in the presentation, our aim is to bring properties up to a good livable standard. And so, unfortunately, sometimes, and we're finding more and more at the moment, the properties have been poorly kept and they're beyond reasonable repair. And so when the new tenants are going in, we're having to make all sorts of changes. But saying that, as I did mention, we are increasing our planned replacement programme. So if you, straight after this meeting, if you talk to our planned works manager, Merrick Knight, he'll give, if you can give your address and the locations, and we can see. Because what we have found, some of the windows that were replaced, and our decent homes, our asset database is actually saying those windows are scheduled to last until 2032. They are failing early, and as I mentioned in my presentation, what we're finding is we're getting referrals from the repairs team under Liam to say that they can't repair those windows anymore, and the only solution is to replace, which is why we have a planned works team to progress that work. So if you give us the address details, and we'll have a look. But generally, the aim is, and I didn't mention it in my presentation, the last few years we have been dealing with lots and lots of fire safety issues in our blocks and our buildings, and our focus is reverting to increased planned works programs, which means more kitchens, more bathrooms, more windows. That's the aim. And apologies for if that's causing some differences, some people missing out, but they are normally needs based, with a condition of the void property is so bad that we've had to undertake major works.
Well, I have to say, I don't think anybody must came and inspected my property before I moved in, because it really, really is in a bad condition. And I've just lived with it, and I've spent 3 years trying to sort it out myself. But the windows particularly, they're all the same windows, the same system. I don't understand how all I'm saying is they seem to be operating by different standards. No. The voids people who come in and have a look seem to think, and that's fair enough, that the standard that place needs to be brought up to is a much higher standard than the standard of the original homes. On the one that I moved into 3 years ago, I understand the system has changed since then with the voids team. Am I correct in that? Somebody told me that it's worked out in a different way now. The voids team go in and they recommend a lot more work and if you have the budget, it's done.
It's the only change in the process is that we are finding a lot more of our properties are coming back into the void status in an extremely poor condition because they've been, been abused, not looked after, repairs have not been reported. Unfortunately, what you find then is items go beyond repair, which means the only solution is to replace. Take on board your point. It's sort of setting possible double standards. But if you can give us your details, as I said to the colleagues here, we'll get the details and we'll look at our programme. And what we are finding is we've got across the board some of our services. Some of the windows are failing early because we can't repair, and some of our kitchens are failing significantly earlier. And just to be mindful, we work to an asset database strategy, which is kitchens are scheduled in an ideal time for replacement or review and replacement, possibly every 20 years. Bathrooms every 30 years, review and replacement with normal repairs. And windows are normal houses are 40 years for windows, and flats, we're in a block of flats, are 30 years. So that's the standards we work to, but we're finding more and more recently items are failing earlier than expected, and we're having to address that. But if you can give the details, we'll give feedback.
Thank you, Gary. Unfortunately, we're going to take one more question, but like we said, we will be downstairs. You will be ushered to where we will have lunch, and you will get to network with staff, and they will take those individual questions and answer to any other questions or comments you have. The last question would go to yourself. Yes.
Hi. I'm a leaseholder in Rockingham Close, and you said at the start of the discussion that you do regular maintenance and come round and inspect the property and keep them in good condition. Well, I've lived there 12 years, and no one's ever knocked on my door and come to have a look. And as I'm the owner, I have to pay for my repairs to be done. But some of the council tenants, they don't seem to give a damn about their property. There's one, I've reported it again and again and again. I keep reporting stuff for years. Nothing ever gets done. The next door neighbour's garden hasn't had a shed roof on it for 5 years. A shed roof. So the people living in the above flats, the gardens are a disgrace. An absolute disgrace. I only see them because when I get up on a ladder to trim a bush or whatever. But there's a house, a flat in my block. It's grown a beard. It's covered in ivy. You can't even see out the windows. It's all in the guttering. I've got photos here. I'll show them to you. It's an absolute disgrace, the old close. It's that bad, I've actually put it on the market to move out. It's horrendous. It's an embarrassment. The people, they get free accommodation, they don't go to work, and they can't even tidy their own mess up. There's rats everywhere. Rats everywhere. Yeah. And every time you phone, because you're not old enough and disabled, you have to pay for it. But it's cheaper to buy the boxes yourself and put the bait in. That's all they do. But the thing is, there's such an abundance of them. I just cleaned up the neighbour's bin store. I've got photos here, there's rats in it. The bin store. It's an absolute disgrace, it really is. I keep reporting it. Nothing ever gets done.
No. Thank you very much for your comment. One of our repairs...
I've got the photos, I'll give them
so we can get the address from you and we can directly deal with the issue.
Yeah.
I'll just apologise for the experience that you've had.
You say you regularly carry out maintenance inspections. How comes no one has asked me, as a leaseholder, in 12 years to have a look at the standard of my property? Please tell me.
But
You said you
They-
blew your own trumpet.
So in regard to
discussion,
leasehold properties,
and you do it on a regular basis.
one thing I'll say, obviously,
What, do you do it in decades or...
so we're giving you a chance to talk, sir, so give me a chance to respond. What I will say is that as a leaseholder, you're responsible for the own internal part of your flat, so we wouldn't undertake an inspection of your individual property.
Yeah, but
However, what they would do is they would inspect the remainder of the communal area.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, that lady said there earlier, she I think she's a leaseholder, got her own place. She has to pay for her own repairs, like I do. Right? If you can't manage it yourself, I'm disabled, not through illness, you know. And if I can't manage to do something, I pay someone to do it. I have to. But the people in these houses, they're quite capable of doing half the jobs themselves. How long does it take to keep a garden tidy?
Well, what I will do, sir, is I'll invite you to come see me personally, and then we'll go through all of the...
Yeah, I've got the photos here, I'll just give them to you.
It's a lot of it is a tenancy management issue, which I'll pass to my colleague. However, what we can do, if we can review your repairs, if you come see us afterwards.
But a council block, right, this ivy goes into the brickwork, as you know. Right? It goes into the brickwork. So it damages all the brickwork. So in the end, by the time you get this ivy off, all the brickwork's going to have to be repointed. And it's now in the gutters, going all down the gutters, so they're block up. Then we're going to have a damp issue, like I have when I reported the end gutter missing. And you said about repairing, emergency repairs, that was running down the wall for months and months, and all in the end, all my kitchen I all had damp in it because of constant water.
Okay.
And I try and get it done.
Yeah.
And
We will, like we said, we'll come to you after the conference, and we will take note of the address and try and have a dialogue with you to try to get to the bottom of this. I want to extend my gratitude and thanks to each and every one of you in the room for your active participation and your contributions. You joining us here today can only evidence our collective commitment in improving tenant and leaseholder experience and fostering that stronger relationship. You've had the opportunity to hear from managers from across the service, and you've also been given the opportunity to ask some questions and make some comments. As we return to our prospective roles and communities, I encourage you to engage in open dialogues, champion the rights for tenants and leaseholders, and strive for that excellence in our housing service. I would like to extend a special thanks to the staff volunteers who have made this conference possible, our IT guys, Democratic Services, Customer Engagement team, for the hard work you've put behind in making this a success. We deeply appreciate it. Please remember that our journey does not stop here. Together we can build a future where every tenant and leaseholder feels heard, respected, and secure in their homes. Thank you once again for coming and participating. We wish you a safe travel home. If you could remain seated where you are, we'll have members of staff just in an orderly fashion show you where we're going to have lunch and networking. There's plenty of time. We have all the time to engage with you after this conference, and we hope you enjoyed the conference. Thank you.